So the next verb we're going to talk about is the verb estar. E-S-T-A-R, estar. So it's another irregular verb, which means that it does not follow the usual patterns. When I'm talking about patterns, I'm talking about the AR verbs that we've already seen. We already know that AR has the same endings, right, for any regular verbs. O, as, a, amos, ice, with an accent, on. So for instance, hablar is a regular AR verb because it ends in an AR. So all I have to do is take off my ending, goodbye ending, write the stem, right, the part that's left over, just like a flower, because when the flower dies, you're supposed to cut off the top so it can grow a new bud, okay? So then I have yo hablo, tú hablas, él, ella, usted habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. Now that's a pattern. Now even though estar ends in an AR, it does not follow this pattern. Not at all. So we're going to see how it follows a different pattern. Now this verb is pretty cool because it means to be, kind of like ser, but we use this in specific situations. We're going to use this verb anytime that we want to say about how someone feels, or where something is, like a location. That could be for a person, or a place, or even an object in a room. Going back to how someone feels, think about this. What do I ask you when I want to know how you are today? ¿Cómo estás? Estás looks pretty similar to estar, right? So we're going to see a little bit more about that. So just in recap, this verb is irregular. It does not follow our usual patterns. When translated, it means to be. And we use it when we're talking about how someone feels or where something is. Now you may be wondering why estar is irregular. Well, there are a couple of reasons. It's considered irregular because it has a unique yo form, which we're going to see in just a second. And there are a lot of conjugation forms that require an accent mark, where we usually wouldn't need them with an AR verb. And therefore, it is irregular. So let's take a look. We've got all our chart drawn out in our pronouns. So I, you, he, she, you formal, we, you all, in Spain only, they, boys, or a mix of boys and girls, they, girls, and you, plural. Okay. So, let's take a look. For yo, estar becomes estoy. That's what I was going back to with the unique yo form. Yo estoy. If I want to say with you, tú estás. Here we've got those unique accent marks that are coming in. For él, ella, usted, está. Nosotros, estamos. Vosotros, estáis. And ellos, ellas, ustedes, están. Now we need these accents to help us make the right sounds. Also, for instance, when we're looking at this one, está, down below, if we didn't have an accent, the word means a completely different thing. It actually means this if I take that accent away. So it's really important that I'm very careful with my spelling. So just to recap, we have I am, you are, he, she, or you formal is, we are, you all are in Spain, and they or you plural are. Just a reminder once again that we're only going to use this verb when we're talking about how someone feels or locations. So keep that in mind. Now, one of the cool things that we can do with estar, the verb we just talked about, remember we got estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. is talk about location or place, lugar. So we need to know some prepositions in order to do that. What's a preposition, you might ask? Well, we've got that covered right down here. So a preposition is a word that relates to nouns or pronouns. And by relate, specifically we're going to be talking about where one thing is in relationship to another, because we're talking about locations. So for instance, we might have detrás de. El perro, this is the perro, está detrás del cartero. So the dog is behind the mailman. Okay? That's a preposition because we know where the dog is in relationship to the mailman. Notice we've got our handy dandy Estar right there. Then maybe we want to talk about the opposite, in front of. El perro está delante del hombre. Now you might be wondering where this del has come from. Well, in Spanish, there's this thing called a contraction. We have them in English too. It's like when you have, like, let's say he is. Instead of saying he is, sometimes we shorten it to he's. Like, he's going to the store. Well, in Spanish, we do the same thing. So it's really hard to say de, which means of or from, and el, because of the two vowels next to each other. De el is hard to say. It doesn't sound like there's a space in between. So to make it easier, we say del instead. And it means of the, in this case. So the dog is in front of the man. Okay? So keep that in mind, our nice contraction there. We've got a couple other options too. We've got to the side of, al lado de. El perro está al lado de los huesos. So the dog is next to the bones. El hueso está entre los dos perros. So the bone is in between the two dogs. El hueso está enfrente del perro. So the bone's in front of the dog. Then we've got two right here, sobre and debajo de. So el perro azul, the blue dog, está sobre el perro amarillo. So the blue dog is over the yellow dog. Then we've got the yellow dog here. El perro amarillo está debajo del perro azul. So if not above, we are below. So the yellow dog is below the blue dog. Now this poor dog, he looks pretty sick. So el perro está dentro de la cama. The dog is inside of the bed. Dentro de. Now notice we do not have a contraction here. Because when we have de and la, there's no two vowels next to each other. So we don't need a contraction. So we just say it normally. De la. No fancy changes. And last we have encima de, which is like sobre. So to be on top of. So perro está encima de la mesa. So the dog is on top of the table. So these are some helpful words that might be good to use with Estar to help tell us about location. So I would definitely jot these down. Now, just to be clear about these with prepositions, let's go over a formula to help us remember what order the words should go in. Get ready for a lightsaber. Here we go. Woohoo! So we've got our first noun. That's the first thing that we want to be comparing, right? Then we need to conjugate the verb estar. It should match this first noun. They're tied together, okay? So if this is he, then I would put está here, okay? They're always linked together. Then next, lightsaber. We've got our preposition, or a prepositional phrase. And then lastly, we've got our final noun, which is different, okay? So to give you some examples, we've got la chica, noun number 1. Está, conjugated so it matches chica. Al lado de, next to. La puerta, the door. Las mochilas. Oh, now we've got something that's plural, so we have to have están, debajo de, underneath, los pupitres. So the backpacks are under the desks. A couple other phrases you might want to be aware of, because I'm sure they come up quite a bit, are a la derecha de, to the right of, a la izquierda de, to the left of, and cerca de. That means near or close to. So you might want to jot those down. Now let's talk about some practice. So here we've got some friends from Nemo, or Nemo in Espanol. We've got Nemo, we've got Dory, we've got Crush the turtle, Bruce the shark, and we've got Pearl, the weird like squid thing. So let's talk about where they are in relationship to one another in Spanish. Okay, to talk about some examples and some practice. For instance, Nemo, our first noun, está, with an accent, a la izquierda de Dory. ¿Qué significa en inglés? Nemo está a la izquierda de Dory. Nemo is to the left of Dory. Very good. Let's try something else. Now maybe, where's Nemo in relationship to Crush? Nemo está debajo de Crush. ¿Qué significa en inglés? Nemo está debajo de Crush. Nemo is beneath Crush. He's under him. He's swimming more towards the ocean bottom, right? Muy bien. Now what about Bruce, way back here in the background? Bruce está detrás de... Now I want to say the group, so grupo, but look what happened here. De él, I got two vowels next to each other. So, instead of de él, I'm going to have del. So, Bruce está detrás del grupo. ¿Qué significa en inglés? Bruce está detrás del grupo. Bruce is behind the group. Now, try this on your own. See how many combinations of prepositions and está you can come up with, and practice using our new irregular verb.